Yeah, things have been going good at Bellator. I feel a little more comfortable, and like just the team here, it's structured a little better. I have more leeway with getting more attention with the promotion, and
Yeah.
better questions coming my way. I'm feeling a little better about it. So more of my personality's coming out here for sure.
I feel like when you when you decided to switch, or I guess make the change, because your contract was up with the UFC, right?
Yeah.
And so you just went to the free market. And were you kind of swaying towards the UFC? Because I haven't really heard you talk about this. Were you swaying towards the UFC? Because it's always scary. And I tell Phil Davis when he's on the show, and I tweeted this, maybe I DM'd this. I said, you're the Rosa Parks of UFC fighters. Like, you're the guy who took the first step. Was like, nah, man, I'm making a change. And he was dead honest. Like, I was terrified, man. Because, like, especially when he did it, like, he's ranked, top 5 in the world, legit threat for the belt, big name, Sprite, Lugs. He has these big sponsors. When he left, Bellator wasn't exactly where they're at now. Yeah. I mean, Bellator's killing it now, and they were making some moves, and we know Scott Coker was involved. But when Phil kind of made that leap, everyone was like, oh, this is going to work out. You know what I'm saying? So for you, and you're a smart guy. So I'm sure there was some sort of...
It actually was a long process.
Really?
It was after the Lawler fight where, I'd taken that damage. I had some time off of my nose, and I had one more fight on my contract. So I'm thinking, I got to start making some money now. You know what I mean? Especially I got to that pinnacle of the sport, my idea of what I wanted out of this was changing. I got to that top level I always dreamed of, didn't work out, but now I got to start taking care of myself, because if I don't, no one else is.
You also have a family.
Yeah, I didn't at the time.
I'm just saying,
now definitely it's like magnified to a whole nother level in every part of my life. I'm focused on getting what's mine, but before it was more about just, I think we even spoke about it. It was just being a champion. I was just focused on that, being a fighter, getting the championship, and whatever happens, I don't care. Because I'm pretty comfortable with what I have beforehand. I didn't come from anything, so I was comfortable with nothing. But now, looking in the future and becoming older, your priorities start changing.
But and for you thought you'd get to that pinnacle, and people forget, like, your kind of mentor and partner in crime was George St. Pierre. Mm-hmm. We know, like, he got to the top and he ran with it. And we see the paydays and the kind of life he was living, the camps he would structure. Yeah. You guys both from TriStar, so you see like what's possible, and then you just weren't seeing that. Is that what you're saying? Like, as far as you're saying, compensation, the lifestyle.
I wasn't comparing myself to George. He was in a totally different ballpark than me, and we're a lot different. The way we live our lives and things like that. Yeah, we're different people. But it was more for me after going through that fight, knowing what I had made, even the bonus I got afterwards, and I was thinking, that's one of the best fights of all time, and
some say, the best fight.
Yeah, it's up there, it was
top
a classic fight.
Yeah.
Classic fight. And I'm just thinking in the future, like, if I keep having these fights, I should be getting some payday, because other people are getting paid for that off my sweat, and blood. So, I know what I'm worth as a top level fighter, and I went out there and I got it. I took a risk fighting out my contract going against Thompson. Didn't work out in that fight because I fought like shit.
Fought too soon though.
Well, yes, that, but I also trained stupid for it too.
How so?
Okay, I was trying to be a karate fighter.
You're trying to match karate with karate.
Yeah, and it was a slow process over the training camp. At first, I was telling Faraz, like, no, we got to focus on my strengths, and and then slowly we started, like, we brought in Raymond Daniels and doing too much karate counters, and before you know it, I'm doing all karate and doing stuff that, you've seen the fight.
Yeah.
It came out not me at all.
No.
Yeah.
Like, I figured, like, before that fight went down, I had you as the favorite, and I thought, Roy's gonna come out. He's gonna have his wide stance, because it's not like Wonder Boy kicks out your legs or anything like that. You're gonna stay behind your jab and wait for the opportunity to capitalize on Wonder Boy leaping in. But you're just gonna stay behind your jab. And if the takedown's there, you're gonna wear his ass out.
Yeah, I was working on counters and stuff like that. Things that they're not my strengths. I'm a pressure fighter. I have good hands. I have good jiu-jitsu, good ground and pound, solid wrestling. and I needed to implement that. If I fight him again, you'll see a big difference. It won't be the same fight.
Mm-hmm.
But
and so you lose that fight again. So you're coming off 2 losses, even though you got the classic fight, which some think is the best welterweight fight.
Yeah, I was riding momentum off of that.
And then
sure.
which is kind of a win, because before that big shot by Robbie Lawler, where you told me it went like all white, like your nose and all that. Like,
well, it was like when it hit, I knew it was broken. I felt like the floodgates open. It was mostly going backwards
in your throat, right?
Yeah, I was swallowing most of the blood, which is the worst thing, And it was a high-paced fight, so it was stressful, Yeah, but I was dealing with it as best I could. Tried to put him away in the 3rd, tried to put him away in the 4th, and then after I couldn't put him away at the beginning of the 4th, I was pretty much in survival mode.
Yeah. But so you have your 2 losses, but there's still it's top level guys, and then going with Bellator, you're already kind of 1 foot out the door after that Thompson fight. Is that where negotiations started to go?
I would say even before the fight.
Oh, damn.
I was already very focused on a contract negotiation after that.
Because a lot of and I've had a bunch of Bellator guys in here, they say a lot of times, and it's not a knock on UFC, it's just apples to oranges. So when you're dealing with the UFC and the UFC brass, although it's different now, WME, and we don't even want to get into that, but when you're dealing with, Dana White and the brass there, it's a completely different experience than when dealing with Scott Coker. Like a lot of guys, Larkin was like, dude, I was in the airport and my agents were going back and forth with the Bellator brass, and Scott Coker just called me. I was like, yo, here's what we're offering. What's it going to take to get you to sign, man? What are you thinking? We're cutting through all this red tape. I know it's weird for me to call you or whatever, but I feel like a lot of guys are like, one of the reasons I signed with Bellator is because Scott Coker just treats me like a human being, not this business type of weird promoter kind of. You know what I'm saying?
It's a different vibe.
It's a different vibe.
Absolutely, it's a little more. It's run different. There's not the hierarchy like UFC has.
Yeah.
It's more chill. It's I will say though that UFC's organization, their staff, the way they run things is top notch. You know what I mean? It's one thing Bellator could pick up on.
Yeah.
They need more staff as they grow. With the more A-list fighters they want over from the UFC, they're going to have to grow as a team too.
A lot of when I retired, I gave a shout out not to the UFC brass, but to the workers in the UFC, because they're the ones who are making the circus run. Like when we talk about Burt Watson, Shonda, and just all the employees that go into it, that really you deal with more than anyone. And just the smooth machine that they had. Now it's a little different, but at the time, that smooth machine that they had is what made the UFC.
Yeah, absolutely. It was something I got used to,
But with Scott Coker, you look what he did in, what's it been, 3 years? See what he's done in 3 years. Imagine another 3 years.
Yeah.
And the pace that he's moving at and the guys that he's signing. I mean, I can only imagine. I think as far as them getting that team together, it's going to come. Especially as things are getting bigger.
He knows for sure. He knows what's going on with his team, I don't see it being an issue going forward.
And when they signed you, I remember you said, I'll fight at gangster weight. Chael Sonnen.
Yeah, because
any of that.
I sent out that reply to his text.
Yeah, which I love.
Yeah, so he knows I'm down.
He knows I'm down. And then your first fight was Paul Daly. Do you have much say in who you're going to fight, when, anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, I have my requests.
Sure. Was Daly a request or no?
No.
Because he's scary. I mean, he's a scary fight.
Lima was my request. Obviously I wanted the title fight, but, it was still a good fight for me. Got the win back in my sails after those 2 losses, the long layoff. And
I think it's exactly what you need.
It probably was, but the fighter in me wanted that big opportunity.
That's why you're Rory MacDonald. But look, from a business standpoint, I thought it was brilliant because Paul Daly's super dangerous, knockout artist. Everyone's pretty familiar with him. We haven't seen you fight in a while. Your last fight with Thompson, everyone's a little worried about your nose. And everyone's like, is Rory going to be the same? Because some of the media was like, he's lost 2, his nose, who knows? And then you come and just freaking, avalanche Paul Daly. Everyone's like, holy shit. And I want to say Rogan was like, that's the best. I think he even tweeted out, said that's the best welterweight on the planet. Like, holy Christ, Rory MacDonald.
I'm telling you that it's a different, I'm bringing a different style to the table now. I'm just focusing on my strengths. I'm keeping it simple. I know the direction I need to take a fight, and I'm very clear on what I have to do when I step into the cage. Whereas before, like I was saying earlier today, like being a well-rounded guy, starting in mixed martial arts, you learn so much and you have a dynamic skill set. And with martial arts, there's rabbit holes everywhere. You could go down this avenue of martial arts and just get lost in it. And for years I did that because it was so exciting. Oh, I could learn this. Oh, I could learn that. And I ended up getting sucked away from my core strengths.
Foundation.
Yeah, my foundation. So yeah, those things got me some new skill sets, so to speak, and probably are a blessing now. But now that I'm here, I have all that fight experience, all those years of training and hard work and focus. I really feel like I'm in the zone, and it's going to show in my fights. It's going to look exactly like the Paul Daly fight.
Yeah.
I'm taking that same style, the pressure, with high skill level against these guys, and I just don't think that they're going to last.